going to kind of start from the beginning. So first of all, thanks for everybody being here. We're listening to kind of me talking about some stuff. My name is Peter Mingles, from people unfamiliar with my voice. And my background grew up in direct sales and direct sales management, so I'm kind of building up a little bit to why Phase 2 and why Phase 3 if you're listening in. Well, we've been around since 1998, which is kind of sad because there's some other network marketing, or I'm sorry, there's some other companies that started on the internet after 1998, and they're bazillionaires. So I am not one of those. You can probably do a little, find out that Google started after 1998, and Facebook started after 1998, and those guys are billionaires, and I'm not. So I know a little bit about the internet, but not that kind of stuff about the internet, I suppose. So we kind of get stuck in our own little thingy over here. But in 2001, I did a few recordings. And for those people that want to find this, when you go log into your lead management system, and you go to your training link, and then you go to your archived audios, I typed in a word that randomly, it would take you about 100 million years to figure out on your own. So we called it SS2S Online, which stood for a simple system to succeed online.com. And that domain name is probably owned by somebody else because I didn't renew it. But when the internet came out, a lot of people were saying things like, oh, it's going to be really simple. People are going to just go. Now, there was no such thing as movies on the internet back in 2001. But people are going to read your email, and it's going to be delivered to somebody's computer automatically. They don't even have to turn on the computer to be able to get it, like a fax machine. You have to turn on your computer to be turn on your fax machine to be able to get a fax, if you remember. So they won't even have to turn on their computer. It's going to be saved in the Ethernet of whatever this thing is, and when they go to their email, they're going to get an email, and it's going to be automated. And wow, we're going to be unbelievably successful through all this automation and this integration. So I said, well, those tools will help, but I don't really think we're going to get there. Not in the types of industries we're in, and I was at the network marketing industry where relationships were important, but we still needed people to be the glue and people to be like the tour guides, if you will, not to explain everything, but we still needed people. So I said to the people that I was working with, I said, listen, I've learned a lot about sales and sales management when we used to do our exit interviews, and that's where you kind of caught up to me right here. So I'm going to put, we weren't recording this before, now we are. So when I would call up a customer of mine, I grew up in the vacuum cleaner business, when I'd call up a customer of mine or somebody who saw a demo, and I'm going to use the word, I'm going to try to keep my name straight. So I'm going to use Ken as the sales rep that used to work for me, and he's in the management training program, and we'll call her Mrs. Future Customer. So Mrs. Future Customer was the woman who we had done the demonstration with, and I already knew whether Ken sold Mrs. Future Customer or Ken didn't sell Mrs. Future Customer. So when I called up, I'd say, hi, you know, Mrs. Future Customer, whatever her name was, and I'd say, this is Peter Mingles, and I'm the branch manager of the Electrolux office over on, you know, Bell Boulevard in Bayside, Queens. And I had a representative who you were nice enough to allow to demonstrate some of our equipment to, and his name is Ken. And I'm really seriously considering Ken for our management of one of our offices. So if it's okay with you, can I ask you a few questions about your experience with Ken? And she would always say, yes, sure, oh, he's a nice guy. She'd usually carry on, he's a nice guy, and boy, he's really nice, and he was very polite, and blah, 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 and she'd kind of warm up a little bit because that's the only kind of people we'd hire. So I'd say, okay, good, well, tell me a little bit about your experiences. Well, you knew a lot about this, and blah, blah, blah. Did he seem knowledgeable about the equipment? Yes. Did he kind of show you this? Did he show you how to do this? Yes, yes, yes. So I kind of got an idea of what kind of demonstration he do. Did he show you how the vacuum cleaner worked on the steps? Did he show you the sidekick attachment? Did he do the mattress? Like, did he do the mattress to eat? Oh my gosh, all the dead skin. So I knew Ken was doing all the right things in the demonstration, because if Ken wasn't doing the right things in the demonstration, she's like, what do you mean, did he do the mattress? I'm like, he missed like the most important part of the presentation, the dead skin on the mattress. So by me doing the follow-up interview, I learned a little bit about my demonstrator, my person, but most of the times, because he knew I'd be following up, he did the right demonstration, which means he sold more than he didn't. But when I finally got to the point of like, oh, so what was the biggest reason why you decided to buy? I remember I knew already she didn't buy. And what was the biggest reason why you decided to buy that day? And she said something like, oh, I didn't. I'm like, oh my gosh, now this is where I get a chance to be my actor. So everybody goes to acting school and sales. So I just, okay, time to put on my acting clothes. Oh my God, what do you mean you didn't buy? I'm so confused. Why are you confused, Peter? Well, I'm so confused. Do you like them? You seem knowledgeable. He did this. He even showed you all the dead skin on the mattress. He showed you how I worked on the steps. So what was the real reason why he didn't go ahead? Was it something that he did? And she'd say, oh, no, 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 he's really good and positive. She'd many times say, it's just my husband. My husband's going to freak out. So many times I might be able to save the not made sale by doing that exit interview. But invariably, in my mind, I cemented that whoever I sent to the house made a very big difference. So I'm going to call that you, Y-O-U, you. Next, what else created the environment for sale? Understand. So that is the letter U. So I said the word U, like Y-O-U, and then the letter U. So U stands for understand. If I was doing a follow-up interview on an applicant, so now Ken is a manager of mine, and I'm interviewing a sharp applicant that I want him to be able to recruit for the management training position. Hi, my name is Peter Mingles. I run the division of Queens, and I have a really sharp branch manager. His name is Ken. He did an interview with you a little bit earlier. I'm really considering Ken for a further management position. He's a really key part of my office, or a really key part of my division. And I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about the interview. So then I go through the same thing. Now remember, I would know whether he wanted the job or not. So I would know whether he wanted the job or not. How was Ken? Was he knowledgeable about the opportunity? Did he explain the compensation? Blah, 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 blah. So when I went through that whole thing, and then I said, so what was the biggest reason why you're deciding to take the position? And the person said whatever he said. I found that many times, the applicant didn't understand something that was a little bit more complex. See, vacuum cleaners are really simple. You push them, the dirt shows up. Shampoos aren't really very complex. You push it over the dirty spot, the spot either comes out or doesn't. When you're talking about an opportunity to run an office, it gets a little bit more complex. You have compensation, you have a contract, you have how the office would work, you have a few other things. It's a little bit more, how to say, complex as far as the decision-making process. So I find that a lot more people would say no because they didn't understand it. So he made it too complex, they didn't understand it, or maybe they had a simple brain. So it was you. So if I were to get my little drawing pen, which I know so many people just love it for my creative artistic ability. So I have Y and then a U for people buy or join because of you. People buy or join because they understand it or they don't. Then there was another one called D, because they think they can do it or they can't. So now I'm going to bring you to my own personal experiences. Many times when I was in direct sales, I would take somebody out for a field evaluation. And I would take this person out for what we call a field evaluation, which is basically they rode with me for a day or an afternoon or a morning, whatever it might be, and then they were going to make a decision, and I was going to make a decision on them. See, I did learn a lot about interviewing people, that sometimes people look really good when they're sitting in front of you and they get a chance to move their lips a little bit and tell you about the stuff on their resume. But it ain't until you take them out of the office that you find out a little bit more about that individual. You know, you walk into his car, you see what he's driving. You walk into his life, you see what he's living. You know, you hang out with him a little bit, you see the comments that he might make about the little girl that walks across the street. So you learn a little bit more about him when they're outside of that environment. So I'm evaluating him, he's evaluating me. And many times, if it was somebody that was sharp, first of all, if I was out there doing a demonstration, my job was to sell it. If there's a sale there, my job was to get the sale. So, you know, what's the point of doing it halfway anyway? They don't pay me, you know, 50% commission if I almost make the sale. They make me, you know, they pay me 100% commission on the sales that I make and 0% commission on the sales I almost make. So relative to this whole thing of going out there and doing a demo and impressing people, I would always have to do some things that even impressed me, quite honestly. Most of the times I was doing stuff like, holy cow, I even impressed myself. Look at the way I overcame that objection. Oh my gosh, did you see the way you stuck with it? You know, and like I said, it would be almost like superhuman. Now, this isn't me bragging on myself. This is just me pushing my limits. It's kind of like the guy who thinks he can do 10 push-ups and all of a sudden says, you know, people are watching. I'm going to do those 10. Heck, I think I got 1 or 2 more in me, and going boom, boom, another 2, and you say, holy cow, how did I do that? And we say, I'm really not sure, but you did it. Well, here's what I found out about that. When I pulled the Superman demonstration, closed the sale that nobody, including me, could have ever closed, what I found people saying was, wow, you're really good. And then I'd say, okay, well, you know, something along the line of, all right, so when do you want to get started? And they say, oh, no, I could never do that. So I'd like, oh, this sucks. I was in the vacuum cleaner business, so the word suck for me was like a familiar name. So for all those people who aren't familiar with that word, when you're in the vacuum cleaner business, you know, that sucks isn't so bad. So I'd say, boy, this really stinks. I worked my butt off to get really good. I pull off a miracle of a sale or do a miraculous customer service job, and the person that I showed now says to me, but I could never do that. So I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm still going to make the sale anyway, so but I'll still make the sale because that's what I was there for, but I'd lose the applicant. So I learned that it's got to be something that they think they can do too, because if they think you can do it, they're going to praise you and they're going to think you're wonderful. And unless you're in for the ego stroke, you know, that doesn't pay. So it's like, oh, I'm wonderful. Look, everybody tells me I'm wonderful. I don't need to be wonderful. I need to be productive. I need to be profitable. I need to reproduce myself. So I said, what creates this environment? I'm going to switch my pen because this is a gray pen. And we'll go hot pink. So if I did it right. So what creates this environment, this YUD environment, where I can show people about you and then show things in a simple way so they can understand it, so they get it, and show them that they can do it too. So back in 2001, the technology on the internet and the technology in our brains, or maybe the people that I hired, wasn't there. But we still wanted the website. So we bought a domain name called SS2S Online, so you can hear me telling about this concept. So you can see if I'm consistent, right? So 14 years ago, you see if I use the same words or not. Listen to it if you wanted to using Real Player, which was the dominant player at that time. And if you want a free version of your Real Player, you can get it right there. But what happened was we would talk about something. I said, give me a paragraph on you. And before we could make it dynamic, meaning that you could make your own changes, you would have to send me the file. I would have to basically tell a programmer to paste it into a website. And then if you call me back and you said, I need to change the comma to a question mark, I would say, sure. I'd have to take that file. I have to give it to a programmer. He'd have to FTP it. And I said, this isn't going to work. This will never work until we can automate this process where my customers could make their own changes without me getting involved. So in 2001, most of us were still on dial-up, let alone even know how to use this thing called a computer. So that's what we had. Well, through the evolution, we came up with Phase 2. The programmer that I originally had has since been deceased in my mind, meaning he no longer works for me. And then, you know, I wish bad things. I throw voodoo doll acupuncture type needles at him. So I hope like bad things have happened to him in his life. And I said to someone else, I said, here's what I need to do. I need to have a kind of a template that we could use where my customers can change it on their own. And we need to bring it to the next level. So I called it Phase 2, because that would be the next level, right? What else would you call it? Phase 2. And in Phase 2, I said, well, what's a website anyway? So website's just a banner, some navigation buttons, and some content. See, I need to intimidate the people that do my programming for me, because they always tell me how important they are, like, and how much money they would make in outside industries if they weren't working for me. And I'd say, it's a piece of cake, but what the heck's a website anyway? You know, to defeat their importance. I'd say, realistically, all it is a banner, some navigation buttons, and some content. And by the way, that's all it is. It's a banner, some navigation buttons, and some content. So I said, why don't you give me a banner, and why don't you let me tell you what the buttons are, and then let my customers think it, type it, so they can have it. And that's when we built Phase 2. So if you're over here, one second, I gotta figure out how to erase my cool drawings. Erase all my drawings. Come over here to Phase 2. You'll be able to see that the first domain name that we created was yourowneconomy.com. So yourowneconomy.com was the domain name that I picked because the story I was telling was this. I'm going to click on this button, and I said the template that I want is going to have a banner that talks about what really matters is your own economy, not the economy. And you can see how old this is because when we first started this, we were talking about outsourcing of jobs. When was the last time we even talked about outsourcing of jobs? The answer is that was a decade ago because all the jobs are gone by now. So we don't talk about outsourcing jobs anymore. That's a given. You don't build it here in the United States. You go somewhere where it's less expensive to build by design. You just skip the whole inside process. So, but that's how long ago we've been talking about these types of things. So who cares about the national economy? Who cares about the world economy? So here's the question, isn't the only economy that really counts what's happening in your household or the people that are important to you? I hate to say it, I don't want to sound cold, but isn't that really the only one that matters? And the answer is, for the most part, I guess you're right, I never thought about it that way, but that's what really matters. Let me get this control panel out of the way so I can open up this page. So on this page, I said the navigation buttons I want are a home page, and I want to be able to type in whatever I want right here. And then on the Y button, I want to talk about why the benefits of a home-based business. On the opportunity, I wanted to talk a little bit about the opportunity that we have, the way I want to talk about the opportunity. So I want to talk about the blending of the internet and healthcare, or I want to talk about the internet and some technology, or I want to talk about the growing trends. So here's the opportunity. I want to use my words about us. You know, I've never met a company that can tell a story about their distributors individually. I know companies that can tell their company story. I know companies that can tell their compensation plan story. But I don't know one company that can tell a story about every single distributor that they just recruited or that were just recruited or whoever sponsored in. So since YUD might be important, why go and bring this full circle? Why not you get a chance to talk about you right over here? And then I wanted a contact us button, and of course if they wanted to order or join, they'd be able to click this button and go right to that page. So I said this is the architecture. We want that banner, we want those buttons. Now I knew if I said to my customers, now on the Y button I want you to write up all the reasons why a home-based business. Well, right then and there I would have self-inflicted my own demise. And what I mean by self-inflicted my own demise, I would have put a brake on my own business, like the emergency brake big time. Pull up both hands, pull up both emergency brakes. Everything would come to a creeping stop. Because some people would have started in 2005 and still wouldn't be finished by 2015 writing those 6 reasons why. So I said, forget about that. I'm going to just do it for you if that's okay. Because I want this to be good right out of the box. So on the Y button, we did that. So if you scroll down, you'll see the 6 reasons why. And I did a lot of separate conference calls and webinars on how to use just this page. So how to sell right from this page. Because I could say, you know, the 6 reasons why, Joe, you might want to take a look at a home-based business. And as we're going through this, Joe, taking a look at this home-based business, if any one of these resonates with you, could be the reason why you work with me. So like pre-closing. If any one of these, Joe, seem like they resonate with you, or seems like I might be singing your tune, you might want to work with us. And if more than one, Joe, I guess that would mean there'd be more than one reason why you might want to work with us. So if you're thinking about it, one of them would be like, I'm really thinking about it. Two of them like, I really should be. Joe, if more than one of these, like if the majority of these are resonating with you, like, yeah, this really sounds good, I think I should, and you don't, let me tell you in advance, it's all my fault. Like, it's my fault. If you go through this and you say, yeah, I like that, boy, I love this, yeah, this is really good, and you don't, there's something I did wrong, Joe. So if you were listening a little bit earlier, the lessons that I learned about working with that customer before, asking about that follow-up interview when I said, well, what did he do wrong? Well, you didn't buy. I'm just kind of pre-closing with those here, telling you, Joe, after all these 6 reasons, if you don't want to do this after we go through this, then it's my fault. My fault. And I might even quit if you decide not to do it, if you agree that these are the reasons why you probably should. So you can have a little bit of fun with this as well. But the 6 reasons: time freedom, financial freedom, leverage, love this one, lifestyle, what's that? Technology, tax write-offs. We even do this sort of stuff as well. And we even give you tax write-offs, tax software from our friend Bob Adams if you wanted it. So these are 6 reasons why. And when we started to do this on phase number 2, people liked it. And I thought that was nice. And then they wanted more. So I said, what do you want? Well, we have moms that we work with, so I'm going to go over here to templates. I'm going to open up this page. I scroll down a little bit. There's Stay Home Mommy. So we did one for women. Then we wanted a generic one, search. And then we did another one, 6 reasons by itself, without all the extra words, just the 6 reasons. And we said, well, you can pick one or the other. So people would pick one or the other. And this was really designed so you'd have one. So on phase 2, you have to pick one. And if you said, I wanted both of them, I'd say that's really not the way it was designed. And then you guys started using it more. And when you started using it more, I'm going to go back to this one. You said, boy, it would be really nice if I could change that button name. So instead of it being like, I got to find my pen. Instead of it being like, whoops. Sorry, GoToMeeting keeps moving stuff around on me. About us, I want it to be about me. Where somebody says, can I put a button over here? Or can I change this to about opportunities? Or can I put another button over here? And then somebody came up with the word called capture page. So where you capture people's information. Then there's a company called YouTube that started before I did. I'm sorry, I started before they did, and they're bazillionaires, owned by Google, the evil empire. So people came out with YouTube, and then people would say, can I put a YouTube video in here? And I said, no, because phase 2 was designed to be straight out of the box. Like you could use it right away, but I do like what you just said. So what do you want? You want to be able to use multiple templates? Okay, you want to have the ability to change the button names? I like that too. You want to be able to do this? You want to be able to do that? It's like, we need to build a more versatile tool. We're going to call it phase 3. So if you look at our little logos, you'll see phase 2 has those 2 little circles filled up. If you ever go to phase 3, you'll see those little circles filled up. So just like the Illuminati and the evil eye, I too send clues, but they're just not that evil. So if you go to phase 3, shoot, I got to get rid of some of these other things. So go to phase 3, you'll see that's why those little circles are filled up over there. Now you'll notice there's no 4 circles, and there's no 5 circles, and there's no 7 circles, and there's 377 circles, because I realized that we're going to keep expanding this thing, and I can't keep having phase 4, 5, 6, 7, phase 8, phase 9, phase 13, because it's too difficult to remember all the stuff already, let alone all the different phases. So we came up with a new one called Humongous, because it's going to be really big. But on phase 3, we did everything that you wanted. So click on phase 3. and log in. And on this one, I needed to make it real simple. Still, if you recall, I used the words, I want you to be able to think it, I want you to be able to type it, then I want you to be able to have it. When we built Phase 3, I said, I am not going to bend on those simple principles. I'm going to refuse to confuse. I want to keep it simple. So we're going to have settings, and someone's going to be able to change all 5 templates right from one page. Got it. When you work with programmers, they think that everybody's a programmer. So I said, no, we need to do it for people. We have people that use our products. We don't have programmers that use our products, so I need to make it real simple. And then also I realized that I'm going to do some of my own customer service, and I'm going to playfully call you my customers in this regard, and I do the customer service for my own customers. And there are certain times, like I get a customer, probably not you. Probably not you. I'll use my wiggle room. But every once in I get a customer, I'll say, could you do me a favor, go click on this button? And they'll be like, well, is it over here? Is it over here? Like I'm playfully saying this, right? So you know I love our customers. But you know, is the button over here? Is it over here? Is it over here? Is it over here? And after 45 minutes, they say, oh, you wanted me to select template number 1? I'm like, yeah. And then they say, okay, now when you're done with that, I want you to click on customize template number 1. And they say, well, is it over here? And they're clicking on all the different buttons. So they're not even a page anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really thinking there's got to be a better way to make a living. I say this with all love and affection, but this is like the way everybody talks inside their own head, if you know what I mean. So when I put this together, I said, listen, when I'm doing my customer service, I want to be able to show them. I don't want a lot of buttons. I don't need a lot of instructions. They'll never read the instructions anyway. But I need a big button that's a colorful button. So this one I say, could you go to the button that's big and red that says select template number 1? It's pretty easy to see as long as you're not colorblind. And there are colorblind people out there. I found some of them. It's like, which one's red? I'm like, and they're clicking on the green one. I'm like, no, the red one, like I did. I'm like, oh, you're colorblind. Yeah, okay, so whatever one you think is red, it should be select template number 1. So I could say to somebody, click on the big red button, and they can kind of see it right away. Because they don't go, is it the one over here or over there? No, it's the big red one. Oh, the big red one. Stop pushing the button. Just click on the big red one. Select button number 1. So that's why we did it, because I know that you sometimes do our customer service, and I like you. Like, I really do like you. So when you're doing my customer service, I don't want you to want to kill your own distributors that are like, is it over here? Is it over there? No, we said big red buttons. So I gave you the reasons why we made them big and buttons. And the reasons why I don't do an instruction booklet is if I needed an instruction booklet, it's already too hard, and no one's going to ever read it. So when you click on select template, I got to find my button to click on. So I click on select template, and it lets me pick one. Right, the rest is pretty simple. Say select, I think I'm going to pick this one. I pick this one, and then it'll actually show you the template that you're on. And you'll notice the domain name changes. Like this one is called the Detour Group, and there's another one called Our Plan to Win, and Hot Deals Today, and Your-Economy.net, and MLM Cash Register. So we made 50 somewhat different templates that people can use. A template is a website that has an inside and outside, and that's Phase 3. Now the cool thing about this, as I erase my drawings, is we're going to go to Settings. I'm going to go to Customize. You can scroll down, and there's different features. A lot of this stuff you can kind of read on your own time. But like Capture Page, and I have a drop-down that if you want one, you turn it on. And if you don't want one, you can turn it off, and you don't have to call me. So you can kind of do it on your own. So in the drop-down, it says, well, I wonder what they'd want. They'd probably want to ask either their first name and their email, or their first name, their last name, their email, their phone, or maybe their complete information. And that'll turn on that Capture Page feature. And scrolling down a little bit, you have the navigation buttons that you would be able to name the buttons. And then we have this thing called an exit, pop-up, capture, form. And the reason why we call it an exit, pop-up, capture, form is because when they leave, it pops up and it gives you an opportunity to capture their information one more time. So you can turn it on or over here. And then there's a contact button. And you can upload some pictures. And you can flip whichever pictures you want to use. We have an automatic link button. Automatic link means they click on it and they automatically go to that link. And then we also have this thing called ad or banner code. So on a website, you might have some real estate you want to sell. So on a website, there's certain places that might be traffic places that can actually generate some income. So there are some people, believe it or not, that have Google AdSense. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second. Google AdWords are what you buy. So when you call up the Google guy, you say, I want to buy an AdWord, and they take all of your money, and they keep most of it. So just so you know, that's why Google's the evil empire. They take all your money, just like Las Vegas, and they keep most of it. And they send you somebody that clicked on an AdWord. Because there's a lot of things that convert from your money leaving your bank and somebody buying or joining. So that's why Google keeps most of it. You don't have any by the time you're finished. So on a Google AdWord, that's where you pay Google. Well, there are some people that have ad sites. Now, if you've never heard my wonderful definition before, here we go. On a website, you might wonder why they have ads on them. And we put 3 places you can have an ad. Top, side, and bottom. See, here's what happened. A lot of customers realize that, I'm not making any money on my website. I can't sell nothing. People are making a decision. But Google, the evil empire, started out like this. If you want to go Google something, you go Google something, and you Google, I want to find a plumber in Palm Coast. And then, people show up either naturally or not. And then there's somebody that pays for that advertising. So the plumber in Palm Coast that wants to be seen pays Google. That's the pay per click, right? That AdWords kind of thing. So that's why Google makes the money. And then some genius over at Google said, well, wait a minute. We're Google.com, and some people are finding us, but there's a lot more websites than Google.com. Maybe we should call those other website owners and say, if you let us place ads on your website, will you let us place ads on your website to totally distract anybody that might be buying your product, but since they ain't buying it anyway, why don't we put our ads on your website, maybe even for some of your competitors? And you would say, no, are you kidding me? It's my website. Why would I want to do that? And then somebody whispers in your ear, because we'll pay you. And you said, well, how much? And you'll say, okay. So that's Google AdSense. Google AdSense is basically, if I have a website and I let Google run ads on my website, even though it takes people away from my website, I'm still making money, I'll do it. So that's called AdSense. So that's the difference between AdWords and AdSense. So if you're a website owner, you could make money by having ads that bring people somewhere else on your site because you ain't making any money doing it anyway, is the basic philosophy. And does that work? Holy cow, Google, bigger company than everybody on the planet, evil empire. Lots of websites out there not making any money. They make more money on AdSense than they do perhaps on the e-commerce of their own thing. And that's why AdSense is all over the place. So I didn't want to hide that wonderful entrepreneurial opportunity away from our customers. So if you have a Google AdSense account and you want to put ads, you can put them right here. Take your Google AdSense code and then put them on that page, and you too can have a website with the Google ad stuff on it and make money from it. And if you really think it through. When you're making about $1 per click. So you'd say, how many clicks would I have to generate to be able to pay my $19 or 95 cents? The answer would be not many, like 20 bucks or 20 times, and you can make some money. So for those people that have Google AdSense accounts, they can put them over here as well. And some people do. So since you have 5 spots or 5 templates to be able to put it on, maybe use one for your business and one for your Google AdSense account. Because you put your goofy YouTube video of the day up with your AdSense stuff around it, you might be able to make some money monetizing this if you wanted to. So just don't click on your own ads. So we go to the buttons. And when we click on buttons, you'll see over here, as I get rid of my drawings, erase all drawings. You'll see over here that on every website we give you 10 buttons. And the rest is kind of simple. You click on button number 3. You type in whatever you want. You click on save. It's saved. Like I said earlier, I want to think it. I want to type it. I want to be able to have it. It's that simple. So you can change a button. To what? You're only really limited by your own level of creativity, because anything you can put in this box is probably going to display. So I put pictures. I put different colors, different sizes, all of that sort of stuff over here if you wanted to. And you can click on Save the Button. If you don't have a title, the content won't show because it won't be clickable. So you can do just about anything you want with Phase 3. I showed you can have capture pages. You can have different buttons with different names. You can put in YouTube videos. Right over here on the film strip will allow you to put in a YouTube video. You can add pictures. You can make things clickable with those little links over here. And we do whole entire webinars on Phase 3. So you could learn all the creative things that you might be able to do on Phase 3. So there's more. When we go to add-ons, we have our humongous movies. We have our 20 creative possible solutions method. We also have some people that want to have a capture page lead to another series of messages. So people come into your capture page. Emos is going to drive the traffic there. Emos comes with a leads package. Then they get to your capture page, which is your Phase 3, and you want another series of emails to explain some specific things. That's called My Own Biz Mail. And then we built this preliminary product over here as a transition, push button marketing, when we started to do our classified ads, and I won't even worry about talking about this on this call. But there's some of the things on the add-ins. And if you wanted to take a look at some of the templates, I thought of a lot of things. For instance, how about your own hot deal? Do you want to put a hot deal together? You can certainly do that if you wanted to. Here's the banner. You can put in the buttons if you wanted to. This right here is a little movie that I made just playing around. And here's your capture page. And of course, it's going to integrate with everything that we do. It's going to integrate with your lead management system. And if this is a Phase 3 My Own Biz Mail ready template, it would actually go into another series of messages as well. So you can have it all working with us. I got tired, if you will, of customers calling me up and they say, well, we're going to buy the leads from you, but we're going to use an Aweber autoresponder with the capture page. I said, well, why'd you do that? You have totally different systems you have to learn. Well, because you don't have one, so we built one. Or why would you use GetResponse? Because you didn't have one, so then we had one. So that's why we put together everything. So you don't have to worry about running all over the place, and you could probably get better deals spending your money in one place. Okay, so that's Phase 3 and stuff relative to humongous. So I'm going to be quiet. That was the neat thing about this. I gave you a chance to go through the whole evolution of the thought processes and why. We started with the simple system to succeed, which was manual. And I knew we wouldn't be able to bring it to the masses because I just couldn't handle all the manual transactions that we had to do, so we had to wait a little bit until the technology and us kind of caught up with each other. Then we did Phase 2, and you wanted that, but you wanted more, and then we did Phase 3. And we have other products as well, but we can talk about that some other time. but that certainly gives you the evolution. I'm going to open this up and see if anybody has any questions on anything. And let me.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, you are open. Good. Yep. So wow, that's the answer.
It really is. I mean, heck, you know, where do we go? I mean, I just get